Somewhere in the red dust of East Africa, a sound rolls across 8 miles of tents. 8,000 men fall silent at once. They know that sound. They have learned in a few terrible weeks exactly what it means. It means choose who you love and say goodbye tonight, because one of you will not see the sun rise. This isn't a campfire story exaggerated with each retelling. This happened. There's a bridge that still stands because of it. There are 2 skins in a museum in Chicago that prove it. And there's a name carved into the history of human suffering, Tsavo, a word that fittingly means place of slaughter. Our witness is John Henry Patterson, a British lieutenant colonel, only 30, already more decorated than officers twice his age. Everything you're about to hear comes from his own account, published in 1907. He lived it, he wrote it down, and sometimes the truth needs no embellishment to become a nightmare. March 1898. Patterson arrives in Mombasa, a port the locals call the Island of War, sent by the Uganda Railway Committee to hurry along a railway that's already bled London far more money than planned. His orders push inland to a place called Tsavo and build a bridge across the river there. The train ride tells him everything he needs to know about where he's headed. Lush green gives way, mile by mile, to desert, the earth turning a deep arterial red. The grass dies, the trees turn to black leafless spikes. Ostriches run alongside the train, matching its pace. Almost, he'd later write, as if they wanted one last look at the fools heading into that place. He has no idea, not yet. Something out in that dead red country is already waiting for him. Tsavo Camp, 8,000 Indian laborers strung across 7 miles of raw earth. The first night is quiet, almost peaceful. Patterson sleeps under a sky so clear he can see Kilimanjaro by moonlight. It's the last quiet night for a long time. Within days, a laborer goes missing. No body, no struggle, just gone. Patterson assumes theft, maybe murder over a hoard of rupees. Ugly, but understandable. Human evil he can process. He isn't ready for what comes next. 5 days in, a man named Singh disappears. A Sikh warrior of iron discipline, a man Patterson has come to deeply respect. Singh doesn't miss meetings. Singh doesn't vanish. When Patterson asks where he is, the laborers won't meet his eyes. A fellow Sikh warrior replied,
"The devils took him."
At Singh's tent, Patterson finds massive paw prints pressed into red sand, pools of blood already darkening, and worst of all, heel marks, fingernail furrows, the unmistakable signs of a man clawing at the earth, fighting not to be dragged into the dark. The men who shared that tent tell him what happened at midnight. Something entered silently, seized Singh by the thigh, and in the one instant before the night swallowed him, this warrior renowned for his courage let out a single word. Choro! That was all. No screaming, no pleading, just one word. And then the sound of a man being dragged through the grass until even that sound was gone. One laborer who'd grabbed for Singh's hand as he disappeared would ask the question that would haunt this camp for the next 10 months. If he was not safe, who is? Patterson tracks the killer that day. It isn't hard. The animal has a habit of pausing to lick the skin from its prey, leaving a trail no one could miss. A few miles out, they find what's left of Singh, torn apart, dismantled. The tracks tell a story he doesn't want to believe. Not one predator. 2, both taking turns, both pulling loose their preferred pieces. They bury him where he lies. Patterson would later admit, knowing what he came to know afterward, he never would have knelt there with his back to the open bush. That very night, Patterson climbs into a dead tree with a rifle and a young worker he calls the boy, sharp, brave, and now trembling beside him. He came here to build a bridge, not hunt lions. He has no idea what he's dealing with. Near midnight, the roaring begins. Not one voice, two. Rolling across 8 miles of camp. Then, silence. A collective, terrified hush from 8,000 men who know exactly what that sound means. For nearly 3 hours, the roars drift closer, then farther. At times so close, Patterson can hear 2 distinct sets of breathing, feet away. He doesn't shoot. A rushed shot in blackness only spooks his prey. Then, a long, aching quiet, as if the hunt might finally be over. Hundreds of screams erupt at once, rolling across 7 miles of tents as the camp wakes to one more man being taken. At dawn, the horror sinks in fully. The lions hadn't stayed at the camp's edges, picking off stragglers. They'd moved silently through the interior, past 1,000 sleeping men, to select this one victim, invisible, unbothered by fire, noise, or the smell of 8,000 human beings. They weren't afraid of any of it. What follows is 10 months that will break a lesser man entirely. The pattern never settles. One night, roars echo for hours as warning. The next, total silence. The only warning is the screaming after. Patterson realizes these animals have no discernible rules, no fear of mankind at all. He condenses the camp, rings it in thornbush walls the locals call bomas. Fires burn all night. 7 men are taken in the next 8 days. Worse, he begins to suspect the lions are studying him. He'll leave one stretch of the perimeter deliberately weak, hoping to draw them there and lie in wait. They strike the strongest point instead. He guards the strong point. They hit the weak one every single time. For a handful of nights, something almost like mercy. A lion leaps through a fortified tent and drags off nothing but a mattress. Another gets its paw tangled in a trader's donkey reins and bolts into the bush, hauling a screaming donkey behind it. A third breaks into a supply tent in the dark, seizes what it thinks is a man, and drags off 100-pound sack of rice instead, the trail spilling out behind it for over a mile, followed by the sound of the animal roaring in pure fury. For a few nights, the laborers actually laugh. It will not last. Patterson sleeps apart from the others. A private hut, 25 yards off, no boma, no wall. He's never been afraid of cats. One night, with a doctor named Rose beside him, they hear movement just outside. Patterson assumes a laborer hunting for scraps. Rose lifts an oil lamp. They see nothing. The sound stops. Morning reveals 2 sets of paw prints, looping, circling, drawing steadily closer to the hut with each pass. Patterson had assumed he'd have noticed if the lions returned while he and Rose searched with the lamp. He now realizes they may never have left, that they simply went still and watched while 2 men held up a light and searched right past them. He moves into the hospital compound that week, the strongest fortification in camp. A boma 70 yards across, the closest thing to a safe haven Tsavo has to offer. It will not be safe for long. 2 months pass with an uneasy comfort. Never more than 1 man taken per night, out of thousands. Then construction reaches the river and the camp splits. 3,000 men move ahead to the bridge site. The odds of being chosen just tripled. The lions follow. First night at the new camp, a hospital attendant steps outside and comes face to face with one of them. He survives only by accident, stumbling backward over a table, sending glass and pans crashing down, startling the animal into retreat. Seconds later, it leaps through an air vent into the main hospital tent. It injures 2 men on landing. It takes a third, a man who dies gripping a table so hard that when they find it later, it's still splintered with the marks of his grip, driven bodily into the thorn bush as the lion dragged him through it. Patterson takes to a tree that night near the hospital. Near midnight, screaming erupts from the opposite side of camp. He arrives to find the lion has taken the camp's water carrier and dragged him not over the boma, but straight through it, tent and all, shredded on the thorns as it went. He recovers the man's remains weeks later during a search for the lion's den. Almost nothing is left to identify him, except a single silver ring. Perhaps, Patterson writes, the only object of value the man had ever owned. Patterson and a doctor named Brock, thoroughly sick of burying his patients, build a trap. A reinforced wagon, a second bolted on top. Not unlike, in Patterson's own words, a coffin. Goats tethered outside as bait. 2 men locked inside, guns ready, in total darkness. No moon, no stars. Just 2 men straining to hear the difference between an insect and 800 pounds of predator in the grass. Brock sees a shape, low, dark, moving through the brush. Patterson isn't sure. Brock insists it wasn't there a moment ago. Driven by something between courage and sheer stubbornness, Patterson actually considers climbing out to poke it and settle the argument. He never gets the chance. The shape moves. Both men fire at once, point blank, inside a wooden box barely large enough for the 2 of them. Building a trap for the lions, the 2 men realize with sick clarity they've built a cage for themselves. The animal flees. Brock is certain they hit it. Patterson knows better. He knows the sound a bullet makes striking flesh, and he never heard it. Daylight reveals paw prints. 1 bullet in the dirt, not 1 drop of blood, and one of the goats, gone, taken from 15 feet away, while 2 armed, wide-awake men stared directly at it and saw nothing. Perhaps, Patterson writes, we really were hunting ghosts. The lions don't return to that camp for 2 months. 60 days of nothing, long enough that laborers start sleeping under open sky again, certain the danger has passed. It hasn't. Midnight in July. A lion seizes a man and takes its time, searching for the perfect place to haul its prize over the boma. In a rare moment of collective courage, the laborers rise to meet it. Stones, flaming branches, even rifle shots. The lion finds its spot anyway, and this time, it doesn't retreat to feed. It eats within earshot of the entire camp. Thousands lie awake, listening to every detail, barely a stone's throw away. From here, the attacks intensify. The roars return as warning, and the phrase spreads through camp in terrified whispers. Beware, brothers, the devils are coming. Beware, the ghosts are here. 10 months in, Patterson admits for the first time to something he simply calls hopeless. One night, a man is taken and consumed so close to the boma, less than 50 feet by his estimate, that he hears every sound with sickening clarity. He doesn't fire, terrified a premature shot will scare them off before he gets a real chance at dawn. So he does the only thing left. He listens until it's over. Over 1,000 laborers quit and walk off the job. Desperate, Patterson writes to Mombasa. A district officer named Whitehead answers, a self-styled big game hunter, bringing Askari soldiers whose military tradition includes the killing of lions. He promises to arrive December 2nd. He doesn't arrive that night. He arrives the following afternoon, and when Patterson greets him expecting an apology, Whitehead says instead, with a strange half-smile, "A lion nearly did me in." He unbuttons his shirt, deep claw marks below the armpit. Patterson has seen more lion wounds than any man should see in 100 lifetimes. This isn't a hoax, this is one of his lions. Whitehead explains, Scouting ahead with his assistant, Abdullah, one of the lions launched itself at him without warning. The barrel of his own rifle, the only thing between his throat and its teeth. He fired. The animal broke off and turned instantly on Abdullah instead. Abdullah had time for 4 words before the grass swallowed him.
Master, a lion.
Patterson has built a device, a wooden box split by a heavy sliding door, like a guillotine. A lion enters chasing bait, the door falls shut behind it, and it's trapped, completely at the mercy of armed men on the other side of the bars. Second attempt. 4 coolies packed inside with rifles, Whitehead outside, Patterson on a scaffold above. Near dawn, the trapdoor slams. Patterson feels pure relief. Finally, he hears the animal hurling itself against the bars, roaring in fury. No shots come. The camp erupts. Men screaming shoot, shoot in half a dozen languages. Nearly a full minute passes before the first shot rings out. Bullets fly wild. One strikes the mechanism holding the door shut. The door springs open. The lion, trapped point blank with 4 armed men, simply climbs out over the boma and vanishes untouched. How they failed to kill him, Patterson would write, several times over, is and always will be a complete mystery to me. Days pass. Patterson flushes one of the lions into open ground with a crowd of coolies banging pots and shovels. 15 yards away, he pulls the trigger. The gun does not fire. The lion takes a single step toward him, snarls, and as the crowd pours out of the brush behind him, thinks better of it and retreats. That night, alone in a tree, every failure of the last 10 months circles in Patterson's head. The hours feel dreamlike, not fully awake, not fully asleep, as if he's simply become part of the landscape. Then long silence. Near midnight, a footfall. Then a twig breaking. Then nothing. A full hour of nothing. Something strikes the back of his head. An owl. He'd gone so still for so long, the bird mistook him for the tree itself. Not long after, he hears it. A long, slow, breathy exhale in the dark. He knows that sound. He knows exactly which animal makes it. And he knows, without moving his head an inch, that it is close. A shape resolves out of the darkness near his stand. He doesn't move. A lion can cover 12 feet in a single leap, and he's already in range. He waits until it's closer than it needs to be. Then he swings his rifle, and the lion springs at the exact same instant. Muzzle flash blinds him, but the sound tells him enough. Thrashing, a heavy collapse, the animal struggling up and falling again, roars twisting into hisses, then whimpers. Behind the boma, the coolies, for the first time in 10 months, begin to cheer. Patterson doesn't celebrate yet. He waits for morning. The blood trail is thick and easy. 100 feet from the tree, he finds it, and for one instant, pure superstitious panic grips him, as if even death might not be enough to stop it. It is enough. 9 feet, 8 inches long, nose to tail. It takes 8 men to carry the body back. For the first time in 10 months, the camp doesn't work. It celebrates. No one mentions that a second lion is still out there. Patterson would write, very soon he was going to make us unpleasantly aware of that fact. "10 days of silence. Then, on the 11th night, an inspector wakes to what he thinks is a laborer rummaging outside his hut. He shouts. The noise stops. Morning reveals the ground soaked in blood, a half-eaten goat nearby. Had he stepped outside instead of shouting from bed, he almost certainly would have died where he stood. More nights pass. A shotgun blast that draws blood but no body. 10 more days of silence, a night so dark Patterson can only fire blind into the sky, while the laborers somehow drive the animal off before it claims anyone. Then, one night, feverish and barely functioning, Patterson keeps watch with the boy again, until, for the first time in 10 months of hunting, the moon is full, the sky is clear, and he can actually see. He watches the lion move and understands in that moment exactly what's been killing them all along. Every patch of firm ground used to silence its footsteps, every few paces a pause to reassess. Patient, calculating, utterly without hurry. It doesn't know it's been spotted, and tonight, Patterson realizes with a chill, it isn't circling the goat at all, it's circling him. He waits until it's closer than it has any reason to be. He fires 5 rounds. The first connects, so do the last 2. The lion doesn't drop, it screams, a sound unique to something mortally wounded, and vanishes into the night. No clean kill, but enough blood to know the end is close. In the morning, the trail is short. Under a mile in, a growl stops them cold. They find it hunkered in thorn bush, only its head visible, teeth bared. Just as Patterson raises his rifle, it charges. He fires, it goes down and rises again. He fires again, it falls and rises again. 2 more shots do nothing. He reaches back for his backup weapon, and no one is there. His gun bearer and tracker are already bolted up the nearest tree. Patterson has no choice but to follow, scrambling up the trunk with a wounded, enraged, 300-pound predator closing behind him. He barely makes it. The lion, both hind and forelegs shattered by earlier gunfire, hurls itself against the base of the tree, clawing upward, missing his boots by inches. A creature with a broken body and, until its final breath, an unbroken will. Patterson retrieves his second weapon. A single final shot, and it is over. 25 years later, Patterson sold both skins and skulls to Chicago's Field Museum for $2,500 apiece. In life, these were enormous males, nearly 10 feet long, close to 4 feet at the shoulder, 350 to 400 pounds each. Neither had a mane. Both, apart from their injuries, were healthy, well-fed, in their prime. Patterson claimed personal knowledge of 135 human deaths. He suspected the true number was closer to 300, accounting for the disappeared, the unrecorded, the men from surrounding villages no one in camp would ever hear about. Modern science tried to settle it. An isotopic analysis of the lion's bone and hair, chemical signatures revealing their final year's diet, found roughly 70% grazing animals, 30% something further up the food chain, human. Based on that ratio, the headline number came out far lower than Patterson's account, around 35 people combined. But there's a problem. That method only detects signatures from prey that itself ate meat. And Patterson's own writing notes the laborers were overwhelmingly vegetarian. If most victims weren't eating meat to begin with, the chemical trace the study searched for may never have existed for them at all. And the estimate assumes the lions consumed large portions of every victim. But Patterson describes animals so selective that repeated poisoning attempts failed outright because they had never eaten enough of one carcass to reach a lethal dose. Fewer pounds consumed per victim means far more victims required to explain the numbers, and Patterson's own account climbs back into view. So why did they do it? Older theories blamed age or injury, too weak to catch normal prey. But 70% of their diet was still normal, dangerous prey. Gazelle, impala, buffalo, found packed in their molars. One lion did have a genuine tooth infection, but countless lions live full lives with the same condition without ever turning to humans. The truth may simply be less satisfying than either theory. Two healthy, capable predators who found an easy, unguarded, endlessly renewable food source and took it, and Tsavo isn't alone. In 1907, a single Bengal tigress killed over 430 people in Nepal before Jim Corbett ended her in 1910. A leopard in India took over 400, mostly children. Even now, biologists estimate lions kill somewhere between 70 and 250 people every year, a number likely undercounted since these deaths happen in places least likely to ever be reported at all. If a lion is good at what it does, a person simply disappears. No one thinks to blame the grass. Maybe that's the real reason so many people flinch at the number 300. Not because the evidence rules it out, but because we don't want it to be true. We've built a version of the natural world that feels safer than the real one. A place where an 8,000-man camp, fires burning, walls built, guns loaded, should have been more than enough to stop two animals. It wasn't. For 10 months, in the dark, something moved through that camp like it owned it, silent, patient, utterly unafraid, and chose almost at will who would still be alive by morning. Patterson never said he hated them, frustrated him, terrified him, astounded him, watching two animals outthink an armed camp of thousands again and again. But hate wasn't the word he reached for. Maybe because somewhere out there, in that dead red country, he understood something most of us never have to. No matter how many walls we build, how many fires we light, we were never entirely off the menu. We just usually get to forget that.